kind of look back now, I think I was totally out of my depth.
And so much so that we arrive at the often inevitable conclusion of this life, which is jail.
Yeah. What a journey. So the interesting thing about the whole getting ready to go to prison was you kind of, all through your career involved in crime, you'd be daft to think that you're not going to get caught. You have to have that in the back of your mind, that if I keep going, I'm going to get caught. So you're always I was always formulating some kind of exit strategy. I thought, I have to have a way out of this. I have to do it because I've now got 2 boys. The second son was born in 2005. I need to get a way out of this. I need to find some kind of vice which I can do, which again ticks all the right boxes for me. So linked with the book, I went through a lot of issues financially, dealt with a lot of problems, and that kind of slingshot me into a whole different world, which is going to be involved in the next book. And as a backlash from that, I was introduced to some really interesting people, which helped me to, I think, to sort of raise my profile a lot in the drugs world. I started selling a lot more. So by then, back in, I think, 2008, mid-2007, I'd finished doing some stuff abroad. And my business was then beginning to pick up to the point where all the people that I was buying from were then buying from me.
Wow.
So I managed to sort of turn it around to where it probably would have been had I not had these problems associated in the book from Charlie 4 Kilo. So I kind of recovered financially. I paid off all these debts, and I'd worked that hard to pay them off. What I should have done at that stage when I broke even would have been to walk away. That's when you walk away. But you think, well, I'm making some money now. Why on earth would I walk away? I've had a year and a half of absolute hell. I'm going to live a little bit. So you live a little bit. You treat your family to some holidays, and because they've lived that hell with you, although they don't know why they live in that hell, I could just put it down to it being a recession. Put it down to that. Well, recession is bad, work's bad.
And what were you like, just to interject quickly, what were you like as a husband? How present do you think you were as a husband and a father?
Physically, I was there. Mentally, rarely. There are moments where even when you're trying to engage with your family, a dad or a husband, it's all tainted by the fact of the stress and the worries and the concerns of what's going on. So even if you go on holiday, you can't relax because you wait for that phone, that message to come up. I would leave my work phone, my burner phone, in the hotel room, switched off. I come back and I spend all day, if I was on a beach or wherever it would be, thinking, oh God, I've got to switch your phone on later on. And you're thinking, and even when things are going well, you're thinking, what's going to be the problem? You're just expecting it to go wrong. And I go back and whack the phone on and you wait for the beeps and the text messages and everything else. And they don't come. You think that euphoria sets in and that sense of relief, because that buzz that I got years ago, that's gone. That buzz is way, way gone. So you get more of a sense of relief that nothing's gone wrong, not a buzz that you've just enjoyed that ride. And then that turns to the stress of doing the job itself. So you kind of move from that buzz to relief to stress. So everything was tainted. So I was never a bad dad, but I was never there mentally enough to enjoy being a dad. Right. If that makes sense.
Yeah, kind of to engage in that, in presence, to really be present. You're kind of present but absent in a way. I've heard psychologists write it in that way.
Yeah.
Well, that's interesting because the juxtaposition that I see with you is kind of this sort of underpinning of morality, actually, ironically. But you've ended up steering into this world which is a difficult world to kind of comprehend anyway, because the war on drugs is a whole can of worms that is such a bizarre thing. We touched on it a little bit earlier with the ecstasy culture. There's a reason that these festivals that happen or used to happen in fields that are marshalled by police, and there's 35,000 kids just dancing and raving to music, and the police are wandering around chatting to people, and it's all it's not the high street and alcohol. It's a weird thing that we're at a strange time with the war on drugs. But you're trying to provide for a family, you're trying to build a future, you're trying to find belonging, you're trying to you're trying to build all the right things that we do. You've just taken these tracks, and these tracks have led you into inevitable conclusions, which is, you know, the gang gets bigger, it gets deeper.
Yeah.
Paranoia, and as you mentioned, all the things that can go wrong, they're just scratching at you from every angle. You know, what is it that does go wrong, and how does it play out, Rich?
Yeah, so as I increased, so I went from literally being a man on the ground doing everything to recovering this debt, working on my own, and there was a point where I was actually building my own client base again. So I rang up a really good friend who he's ex-forces himself, and he said, yeah, I'm looking for work, so do you want to be a runner with me? He said, yeah, I'd love to. You know, so I sort of subcontracted work to him, which he was happy doing, and I was doing my thing, and then that built a little bit more, so I needed to take someone else on, and then a few introductions, because a couple of things had gone wrong for a couple of guys, one of them being Cliff in the book. We believe it was on top for him with the police, so people were kind of like distancing themselves from him, and they came to me to look for work. I thought, yeah, okay, if he's on top, then I ain't got a problem with that. If he's not trading, then let's go for it. So I kind of adopted these guys as well. I ended up with a fairly decent sized network of, I think, about 7 people working for me, to the point where it was really generating some decent cash, and it kind of tipped the scale in favour. I think, right, I'm going to really enjoy it for a little while. So I got into motorsport. I kind of like found a way I created my company, Launch Motorsport, where I was doing track days on airfields. And it was really popular back in the sort of 07, 08, 09. The old Japanese car market was really taken off. The modified car scene was massive. And I really enjoyed it. And I suddenly found something which ticked all those boxes again. It was this whole motorsport scene, the car scene. I was always been passionate about cars and driving anyway. And I got into my Jap cars and tuning the cars, and with the money that was coming in, it was easy to get your cars up to a decent spec. So with all these people working around me and building the business, I saw my exit. I thought, right, this is it. I'll open up my own garage in motorsport preparation for cars like I've been driving. I was racing at semi-professional levels, doing things like time attack and saloon racing. I was working with guys in the British Drift Championship. I ran a team in there as well. So it really was taken off. That was during 2010. And I thought 2010 started as my best year and ended as my worst year. So I opened the garage in 1st of October 2010 was the opening date. And the 28th of October or 29th, one of those 2 dates, my friend from the forces, the guy that had served, he got taken down. He got hit by the police, and I wasn't quite sure why, because the guys I was working with, they just don't get pulled. You know, they don't do silly things. They're all legal. They don't have any
seatbelts, indicators, blenders.
Not drinking a can of beer and smoking a joint out the window. It's just not the way that they do it.
Which happens
it does.
More often than
sniffing lines off the dash on the way down. What are you doing? You know, so these were sensible guys, and so most of them didn't actually take drugs. They weren't interested. It was just
that is the fucking that underpins anything rational that can. You know, is this? Are we minimising risk here? Yes, he don't do the deer. He does not touch the tackle.
No, well, funny, my mate from the forces, the one that got pulled, I did have these kind of questions about how did it come about, and I'll backtrack slightly. We gave him a nickname of Paris. He's a big black guy, you know. He's a bit of a unit, you know, and I sent him a job down the road down the M4 to pick up some MDMA. It wasn't much. It was about 3 or 4 inches, I think. It's one of those ones where just if it comes up, you get it. You know, because I had a market for it. Although a bit quite small, it was there. So went down to get this, and he rang me up. He said, "I'm nearly back." He said, "Can I have a little try? I've never tried it." I said, "Well, yeah, of course you can, mate, but just wait to get back because it's pretty good stuff." yeah, no worries. So I said, "Where are you now?" So I'm by Bath. I said, "All right." I said, "Yeah, wait." He said, "Well, I've just taken it."
Oh dear. Hold tight.
Well, just drive quickly then, mate. You got about half an hour. Bath to Bristol, 25 minutes. So he gets back, and I got a phone call. I was like, "Oh, mate, this is amazing." I said, "Have you done the drop?" I said, "Huh?" I said, "Have you done the drop?" He went, "Oh, what do you mean?" And I could hear music in the background, and French music, because he likes to go to Paris a lot, and French music. And I said, "Where are you?" So I'm parked in a lay-by Ann Summers, which if anyone knows Bristol, it's off a place called Bond Street. It's a little lay-by in the central Bristol. So just stay there. I'll ring the guy up again if I get him to come to you. And, all right, mate, no worries. So I rang the guy up and he said, yeah, that's fine, I go and get it. And he rang back after about 20 minutes. He said, I can't get him to answer the door. He's sat in his car, music on full blast, just slumped against the window, just in a world of ecstasy, just having a great time. But it's French music, it's not even dance music. And he eventually got him to answer the door and he gave him this package, and the guy around me said, don't you ever send someone like that down to get my stuff again. I said, apologies, mate. So he inherited the name Paris because of that, which is quite a good name. So he's had this little incident. I'm thinking, how volatile is he? Because he does suffer from some anger issues. But he was a good runner. When he went into military road, he was really good. So he'd had a couple of road rages, nothing major. He chased someone with a shovel down the road once, which was bad enough. And I think that put a marker on his car. I was with him once, and we were just where you get two lanes merge into one after a set of lights. Now the right filter was to turn right, and me and my friend were in the left-hand lane, the correct lane. I had a bag of money with me, about 30 odd grand, and this guy pulled up to the right, and I thought to myself, please don't try and overtake us. Just please, hopefully you're turning right. And this guy, an older chap, didn't know he's in the wrong lane. He went past my friend or past us. And my mate just totally flipped. He literally, he went round him, skidded in front of him, blocked the whole road traffic. And I thought, fucking hell, mate, please don't. And he got out of the car, inflated him. So he's big enough as it is.
Yeah.
And he's bellowing through the window. What the fuck? You know, I'm thinking, get back in the car. Get back. And I'm trying to shout out or display the fact I've got 30 grand in the car with me. And she turns around and just, like a big bear, he just sort of skulks back into the car again. He goes, like that. I said, mate, don't be doing that, please. So we moved on, and that was it. So in the back of my mind, I got these little
triggers,
splinters thinking, has he been pulled because of something he's done? So when he was pulled over with armed police, I'm thinking, yeah, clearly it's a marker. But I thought, let's shut down anyway. Let's shut down because we're not sure. We can't be. At the end of the day, they found a load of coke on him. It was about 1.25 kilos of coke on him. So we can't be sure that it's not on. If it wasn't, it certainly is now. So we did what we did was we shut the phones down, which in reflection was the worst thing you could do anyway during those things.
Right.
They generally say that once, because it shows that you're severing ties when the prosecution, if they've got your numbers. And so funny enough, these numbers went off after this arrest.
That's interesting.
They show a sequence.
So that's not the thing to do.
No, what my brief said to me was, you're better off leaving the phone running and just put it somewhere like in a waterproof bag under a bush or something. Just let it die after a few days. Just let it go. He said, don't disassociate yourself because that shows guilt.
Right.
It means if your attribute towards that phone, you have to explain why did you switch it off then after this man was arrested. So that was kind of our undoing. So we sort of shut down. And at this time I had this network of people working with me. And one of the guys used to manage it for me, I won't say his name, he's got pulled on the Encro chat thing last year, which I'm quite happy about, which I'll go into that shortly. He said, look, why didn't you keep going? I said, no, mate, it's on top. He said, well, look, give it some thought. I've got another runner for you. I said, well, all mine I've binned it off. I said, look, guys, go to ground. We don't know what's going on. So look, I've got a mate can do it for you. So I'm just not interested, mate. And he kept badgering me. And there's a couple of guys looking for some bits and bobs, and I thought, well, I don't want to go into it heavily. I said, well, I'll do one thing. I said, right, get him down. I got a job. I need to pick some stuff up from down the road. So he said, all right, okay. And this was down south of Bath. I'll put it that way. So this guy, his friend, does the job. He takes a trip down to this little village or little town. Drives back up. He's about to get onto the M4 by Bath, and he gets arrested. Police pulled him over. Uniformed police with lights, nicked him. And we found out about a day later. Well, we found out pretty soon because he didn't turn up with what we needed. And he was nicked. I thought, Christ, that's not good. That's the second job I've done, the second arrest. I thought it was definitely on top. It has to be. So I'm thinking, well, I've opened the garage now. This was at the end of November. We've got a recession. We've got a really cold winter coming as well that time. The winter of 2010 was ridiculous. So I can't even afford to run the garage now because the money, I opened the garage with the intention of putting a couple of grand minimum a month into it just to pay the bills, just to keep it afloat whilst I make this transition out of the drugs game. So this second arrest has gone off, and a few weeks go by, and I think, oh, this is bad. But there's no sign of anything happening. I'm not doing anything. And then come New Year's Eve, or the day before New Year's Eve, one of these guys who was just a good mate, I've been doing bits with him for years. He said, oh, can you get me an ounce for like New Year's Eve? And I said, mate, I'm down, I'm shut down. He said, but anything you can do. I said, I'll chuck you at one of my mates. He's in the clear as far as I know. So I'll give you his number and I'll let him know, and you can do it between yourselves. Just leave me out of it, mate. I'm done. So I rang this guy up with one of my co-defenders. Look, got somebody who wants to see you. If you can sort it out, it'd be great. He said, yeah, no worries. So they had each other's numbers. New Year's Eve, I'm sat there in my garage. No customers, it's dead. And their meeting's due, I think, something like 1 o'clock. Now, on that day, the day before, there'd been a murder in the local area in Clifton. I think it was a foreign national had been murdered by someone. There's a lot of police activity in the area. And they done a phone call from my friend, said, oh, where's your mate? So I don't know, just give him a call. So the other guy said, well, is he due to turn up yet? I said, why are you ringing me? You've got each other's numbers, always not answering. Well, just please keep trying. So all of a sudden, I've got calls from both parties on my phone. So it goes quiet. Everything happens. My mate that sold him the stuff rang up. He said, it was a bit weird. He said, I was down there and this guy was staring at me. I said, in what way? He said, I just seen weird. He was across the other side. He kept looking at me. I said, all right, mate, well, it should be okay. So I got a call that night, New Year's Eve, about 10 o'clock at night, from the guy that had bought the stuff. So I just got out of the police station, mate. So I was arrested when I pulled away. So they jumped on him. So if there's nothing more guaranteed, I thought to myself, great, they both rang me. Both called me at the same time. So that puts me into that conspiracy. In front of the prosecution said, that's the bit that put the nail in the coffin.
Just the phones, there you go.
That's the bit that got me. So that for me was convinced, right, it's definitely shut down. So last time I sold coke was or had anything to do with it, was New Year's Eve 2010. So just waiting for the arrest now. I just sat there thinking, well, it's going to come. It's going to happen.
How do you get your head around that, Rich?